Well, the cars are lined up in the pit lane as we're ready to go for round 3 of the 2025 Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup, presented by Michelin. In the Global Broadcast Centre, I'm John Hindom. Alongside me is Shea Adam. And it's a little overcast at St. Pete's, which is a bit unusual. No sunshine, of course, means that the St. Pete's newspaper will actually be free if there's ever a day when there's not full sunshine. We have championship standings to come, but Shea Adam, coming off the back of Sebring, we could not be in a different place, more different place, and a more different type of circuit.
Yeah, from the high banks of Daytona International Speedway, just crossed straight across the state. It's an easy drive right across I-4, but it has resulted in us being in a very different location of track. 1.8 miles, 14 turns, normally city streets that I've taken to some very nice restaurants in the past couple of months. This street circuit has been a feature of IMSA racing for more than a decade and a half. But for Mazdas, it is brand new to the calendar. At least it wasn't on it last year. So it means that a couple of people in this series, namely the 13 rookies we have, don't have that much experience. Well, it is brand new for this coming season, but it's been a staple for seasons past. So people don't quite have the excuse of, oh, I've never been here, or oh, I've never seen it. These walls are very famous.
Yeah, and just a 1.8-mile circuit, but there's a little bit of everything. It's not your typical street track, to be brutally honest. And it's claimed a few big names already, with the IndyCars being here this weekend as well. Last year, we had 2 cracking races and a drag race to the finish line on the airport runway. But also we had a couple of incidents as well, Shay, that took out some major contenders.
Well, and both of our winners from the last time we ran here in 2023, Gresham Wagner and Connor Zilich, are not involved in the race this weekend. As a matter of fact, we only have one driver in the field, that being Mr. Jared Thomas, driver of the number 96 JTR Motorsports Engineering Mazda. He's the only driver who's won on the streets of St. Pete in a Mazda, so he's got that leg up on the competition. Unfortunately for him, 31 other drivers in this field are willing to find out what it's like to take victory around these streets, and nobody's got a better view going into turn 1 than our pole sitter, Jeremy Fletcher, who is trying to make up for what we mentioned. Daytona was a bit chaotic. Well, for Jeremy, one of the races was good, the other, it was all right. He sits 3rd in points coming into today's race, by dint of having won the 10 bonus points for getting that pole position. Points are important, and I am going to harp on that all race long, because we have a lot of different potential possibilities for points to be handed out. You've got leading the most laps and setting the fastest lap as well. That gains you 10 points each. Why do I mention that? Because the last couple of years, 10 points has been the difference in walking away with a check for $250,000 versus $85,000. Both are great sums, but one is more great than the other.
So the cars rolling off the pit lane. This is the biggest grid we've ever had at this venue, and in fairness, it could have been even bigger, Shay.
We have 35 cars start the weekend, but after qualifying, we are down to 32. We will not be seeing Sally McNulty racing again this weekend, her Spark Performance car not being repaired after the qualifying session. The same goes for Chris Clark of AAG. He is the team owner, has not repaired that car, and a big crash for Jagger Jones has meant that he is too sitting out this weekend. Jagger racing for BSI. So 3 of our, well, bigger teams, not necessarily powerhouse teams, but very strong teams, down 1 bullet in the gun already. But as I mentioned, it is Jeremy Fletcher who starts on pole position. Alongside of him is Nathan Nicholson, who's actually got a new sponsor this weekend, John, and Whelen Aerospace Technologies. It's a good place to debut an airplane-related sponsor on a runway of St. Pete.
I like it. I see where you went with that. Let's take a look at the Mazda starting grid. It's a 45-minute time certain race, and we'll start right at the front with Jeremy Fletcher, who is in pole position for Macumbi Makalia Racing. Advance Autosports, Nathan Nicholson is second. Western Workman is in third position. He's been super quick, topped the first 2 session times. Didn't get the time in qualifying.
But only got 100 points out of the 2 races in Daytona. Weston has a lot of work to do. He is someone who will be a championship contender, having won Rookie of the Year last year.
Glenn McGee is alongside him for JTR Motorsport Engineering. Then on alongside him is Justin Adeconis for the company Michelin Racing. On row 4, Nate Cicero on the inside for Sato Motorsport, and then the first of the BSI racing cars.
They are side by side, ready to go. It's an interesting formation to the start of this one because the stragglers are still coming around the final turn, and Tawny throws the green flag. Big gap in the field, but Fletcher maintains the columns and has a good lead.
I reckon that's only the first 16 cars that have come to the line round about the bright on air, who's at the back of that as they go across the paint, and that changes the grip level on those front Michelin tyres. It's a long time since I've driven round here, but I'll never forget turning in to turn 1. Grip, no grip, grip, no grip, and it's everybody in that first 8 rows have got through. The rest of the field's done a pretty good job in catching them up as they head down through to turn number 4. That's down the longest straight other than the start-finish straight. That's First Avenue Southwest as they're coming round now onto Bayshore Drive. They'll go to the right-hander here and head on to Bayshore. This is the part of the track that runs right alongside the water. That's on the left-hand side of the drivers, and as they come through this time around, it is Jeremy Fletcher that leads. I saw some smoke from a Michelin tyre there. Now, is that damage? I think it is. That's coming from one of the cars. There was a tyre rub there as the white, green and red car gets back. Cicero, who started in 7th, has lost a couple of places. Tyler Gonzalez was right there.
Yeah, and Tyler Gonzalez running with BSI this year. Last year, he was with the Sato Motorsports group in the car that Nate Cicero is driving this year. Very similar liveries on the 2 cars year on year, but it will be Jeremy Fletcher credited with leading the first lap into 2nd place. A fantastic start from Weston Workman as he looks to try and gain as many points through this weekend as he can. It's not necessarily the wins that Weston Workman will be going for, but as you said, John, he's got one of the fastest cars in the field, having proven that through both of the practice sessions.
So we have had a relatively clean start. I think, as I say, there was a little bit of rubbing side by side, and here's a bit more of it. It's down the inside. That's a classic maneuver here with that dark blue and white number 13 car finding space where there wasn't really any, but that's made pretty clean pass. That
was a brilliant move, and now as they turn off a central onto Bayshore for the 2nd time of asking, it is Weston Workman leading the way. 2nd is Fletcher, 3rd Nicholson, and 4th Grant West, who's really having a fantastic 2025 so far. Grant never had raced at Daytona prior to this year, having attempted it 2 years before. He's gotten a season started off on the right foot, and now he's really putting it together, racing with championship contenders and a 2-time series champion Jared Thomas pushing him along the way. This is very good stuff we're seeing. Now, I do want to keep in mind we saw a lot of movement before the start-finish line out of the columns for the cars that were later to see the green flag. That will be looked at by race control because changing lanes before the start-finish line is forbidden. So that will be something that will issue penalties, and we might not see come into effect until the post-race results.
So through to complete another lap, and Weston Workman then scored as the leader. Jeremy Fletcher in 2nd place. Great move as we described it from that dark blue, almost purple number 13. Weston going back to that colour again. That was very distinctive from him. It's a little more blue than purple as it was last year for that BSI racing car. McCumbee Michelin Racing in 2nd with Jeremy Fletcher. Nathan Nicholson holding on in 3rd in that multicoloured car with the yellow on it. Then Grant West, I think it was, that I saw coming through. Yes, it was.
And look who's behind him now as well, because Glenn McGee, who's a driver who's always very racy when we get to the streets of St. Pete. He's been on pole here twice before, and up until today held the lap record for qualifying. He's a driver who knows how to go here well. A gaming background, that's why he's got the iRacing on the hood of his machine, the number 69. Glenn McGee is looking like he's ready to go out there and get a trophy today as well.
Can I just remind everybody, as I always do at the time of the race, we haven't even had 5 minutes yet. Just 4 minutes of racing, and heading down towards the first corner. Western Workman did have the lead across the line, but it was only by a quarter of a second. And the number 22, the lighter blue car on the right-hand side of the circuit, on the left-hand side of the circuit, excuse me, so it was coming down the front straight. That's Jeremy Fletcher, our pole sitter, and he's eased back into the lead. Nathan Nicholson in third, Jared Thomas up into fourth ahead of Grant West, then Glenn McGee, Tyler Gonzalez, Nate Cicero, and then it was in ninth position, Noah Harmon is the best of the rookies, and Bryce Cornet in 10th.
Oh, wow. Very opportunistic moment there for Tyler Gonzalez, a man who does know how to race on a street course very well, as he got around. I think there was, no, it wasn't Glenn McGee, it was Grant West who had a moment. He also was passed by Nate Cicero. All of a sudden, you've got Tyler Gonzalez, a perennial race threat for a win, who's now up into a place where he can make moves to get into contention.
So down through that little kink at 10.
Workman back into fourth after all that shuffling.
And that's classic Whelen Mazda MX-5, Shea, isn't it? Because you try to be an aggressor, or even if you try to defend a position too hard, costs you so much in terms of momentum. Tyler Gonzalez going through there as well. Nate Cicero just behind him now. Top three across the line. Lap record here goes back a few years, actually. We broke the qualifying lap record yesterday when, earlier today, when Glenn McGee's 1:24.5 was finally broken by Jeremy Fletcher. And the race lap record goes back to 2022 as well. Remember John Piscato?
Yeah, I mean, former series champion. He's a guy who deserves so much accreditation for what he's done for Mazda and coaching drivers through this Mazda program over the course of the last decade and a half. But I mentioned pulling out of line. We have our first penalty from that. There could be more to come, but the first penalty goes the way of Todd Burris, who's got a 10-second penalty for the false start. So Todd Burris will not be happy about that, but he will be hoping that the race finishes under green, because Todd is a very good racer and he can gain a gap on the cars around him. He's also one of the drivers in the field who's going for the Takumi Award, which is an award started this year for drivers over the age of 40, or should I say over the vintage of 40. So that is special, and that is something that Todd still is eligible for, even with that penalty, but he's going to need a 10-second plus gap on the rest of the competition. Fletcher continues to lead. He is now credited with leading 3 laps compared to Workman's. That's 10 more points going the way of Jeremy Fletcher. And yes, potentially a race win, but we're getting ahead of ourselves on that one.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit, Shea.
Jared Thomas pulled out looking into turn 1 down the inside of Nathan Nicholson, a young man who used to run for Jared's team, but now is with a different organization, with the Advance Group. So it's interesting to see how these drivers are racing with each other and taking precautions, or perhaps in some situations not, based off of the dramas that have arisen off the racetrack as well as on.
37 minutes still remaining, and we still have this enthralling battle at the front of the field, with now just a little bit of a gap between Jeremy Fletcher, Nathan Nicholson still in second, then Jared Thomas has worked his way up into third with that distinctive red and white car with the yellow over cage. These cars may look like a showroom stock Mazda MX-5. Used to be called a Miata as well, didn't it, over in this part of the world? And in fact, that's how they start their life. They're coming from Japan. They're shipped into, actually, the port of Jacksonville. They don't have to go very far from there, Shea, to get turned into a race car.
They go to Fliss Performance. That's where all the magic happens. They pull the engine out. They put a bunch of specific racing pieces into the car, about 200 different parts, and then they drop the engine back in. So these Mazdas are Mazda powered in exactly the form that you can get it from a dealership, as Jared Thomas makes a very slick move around Nicholson. It was the move that he planned a lap before, but it took 1.8 miles for him to be able to execute it. Now that job is done. Jared Thomas is looking at the back of Jeremy Fletcher. Let's see what our former series champion Jared can get done.
1.580 seconds, and that the number that you've got to keep an eye on. And let's see if they can close down the leader. We've said this before, Shay, but it bears saying again. 2 Mazda MX-5s will go faster than 1, 3 will go faster than 2, and 7 in a line will go faster than that leader.
What about 27 of them?
Yes,
working
yeah.
together? So that's basically what we have right now. It's a very small gap between that front group. Jeremy Fletcher out there on his own right now, driving around, having a blast. He's a native of Central Florida, so he's really enjoying being in St. Pete. Just a bit further over to the coast to where he normally lives, in the Orlando area. But we've got Jared Thomas leading, Nathan Nicholson, Glenn McGee, then Weston Workman, who's dropped back into 5th, Tyler Gonzalez, another guy who's home is Florida, Nate Cicero, Grant West, and then Noah Harmon is not too far back either. Noah right now running around as the best of the rookies. He's a young man who won the scholarship coming into this year, got a check from Mazdas. There's a big dive from Glenn McGee, and he has to check up pretty hard to not run into Jared Thomas, gives the position back to Nathan Nicholson, and falls back into line as you were.
And Weston Workman was right there as well. For a moment we had 3. Everybody was in a line going into the braking area of turn 1. Oh, there's a touch, and into the wall, I'm afraid. Well, that was a little bit naughty, and the car that's going to lose out is the best of the rookies. Noah Harmon, who was sitting in 9th position, and that was possibly overly robust defense. He was right up there with
Grant
West in the number 50 car.
Yeah, I don't like to see the movement all the way over toward the wall, especially when there's a car there. It's 34 minutes to go in this race. Now we've got a Mazda that's damaged, and it's a guy looking for the Rookie of the Year championship, so that's not something that we like to see in this series.
And he'd been doing really well and keeping the pace.
And that's not typical of Grant West.
No, absolutely agree.
Also, Farhan Siddiqui is off pace. He's driving around at a much reduced lap time than we would be used to seeing. Farhan, who's got a left front puncture by the look of it. I think the car was actually sitting lower on that portion of the car. A good effort to try and get it back around safely.
Yeah, he's lost the lap now. Let's have a look to see if he dives into the pit lane. He's staying out. So, did he have a problem? It looks like there's air in all of the Michelins. I said it was 1.8 seconds when Jared Thomas went through. It's now 3.3. So all of that fighting and battling has slowed down. Forget the traffic lights at the end of first, straight southwest. We don't have to worry about that. You turn right onto second Ave, and then through the sweeper at turn 5, onto Beach for a moment, and down Central before you're back onto Bayshore. And that's where they are now, underneath the trees. Just a little bit of overcast here today.
And if you're ever in St. Pete and you want to go for dinner on Central, you can just drive over the little bridge and park on that island. It's a great spot, free parking for all the locals. Not this weekend, obviously, because it's blocked off by the racetrack. Peter Atwater in the 26 machine had a moment last lap around at the turn 10 runoff, but managed to get pointed in the right direction and rejoin safely.
He's down in 25th now.
Peter will be a car that these leaders will come across fairly shortly, because he did lose quite a bit of time with that brief excursion. And into the pits comes Grant West.
Oh, there's a huge kerfuffle. Huge kerfuffle. Let's pick the bones out of this one. 32, 65 will start to give you some big good numbers.
And Bryce Cornier, who's very well placed in the championship after his first ever series podium.
Christian was down in 22nd, so what's happened here?
76 is also involved. That is a first-timer this weekend.
Yeah,
and who's the...
That's Jack Murchison, a rookie. He's done a...
Full course caution is out.
He's done a series or two of spec Miata as Jack before he came into this, and there's fluid on the ground as well. So was somebody being lapped when that happened? Because I did notice Farhan Siddiqui's actually dropped 3 laps, so he must have been into the pit. And I just wonder what's been going on.
Oof, Bryce Cornier has just driven over a very large bumper, his own
Graham White car,
bumper.
yeah, the 65.
Oh, that's a heartbreak. Bryce had such a good weekend at Daytona in the first race.
By the way, I should say it's turn 10.
Yes.
In the excitement to try and get the cars all identified, it's that kink that brings you from Bayshore. Normally, you won't be able to turn to the left there. because now you're on the airport effectively, and that is right rear suspension damage. That camber's all wrong. There's bumper damage on the back, which he actually ended up running over, so that he's gone around. He's going to get it back into the pit lane, but I don't think the other two cars are moving.
No, not yet at least.
No. So we will see the Whelen Mazda safety car. Oh my goodness me. That is just not a good thing to do. We'll pack up everybody behind the Whelen Mazda safety car and give you the opportunity. If you're watching this, then you won't want to miss the brand new docu-series, which is coming soon from Amazon Originals. It's called First to the Finish, and it will take you behind the scenes of this Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup Championship. It's an adrenaline-fueled story of drivers Sally Mott, Heather Hadley, and team owner Cher Holbrook as they push the limits and each other.
The MX-5 Cup is the pinnacle of action.
We are starting a new era of racing.
There has not been a female winner in MX-5 Cup history.
Oh, I want it so bad. I have to fight every human instinct to not have any fear.
I'm not your mom, I'm your boss. Nice job, guys!
When the helmet goes on, nothing else matters.
Turns out we know what we're doing!
So first to the finish. Put any thoughts of reality TV out of your mind, because there's no scripts in motor racing, and we all know that reality TV stuff starts to get tweaked a little bit. This is a docu-series, and it will be on your screens on Amazon Prime, and it debuts at the end of this month now, as we're on St. David's Day, 1st of March. It is the 25th of March. Cher, you've been working with some of the people making that, and it goes back to look at last year, but there's a second series already been talked about, and it really is a proper behind the scenes look.
Yeah, this is not scripted. This is not any sort of documentary. It's not a reality TV. It's a docu-series, and the people who have been working to try and put this all together, they have been sort of silent flies on the wall, just observing what's been happening and telling the story that deserves to be told. First to the Finish, coming out in 24 days. It's a Prime Original, which means that your friends and family, even if they aren't racing fans necessarily, will see this come up on their TV. And this is huge, not only for the series, but everyone involved. And as competitors and people just in the paddock, everyone across the board is thrilled. They had a special screening for it the other night, John, in St. Pete. They brought in hundreds of influencers and special VIPs to be a part of this. I haven't even seen the entire first full episode yet, but from what I've seen, you get goosebumps because it hits the emotions perfectly. I do have a couple of updates from this accident. It began when the 11, which is Bailey Cruz, was leaking fluid. That's what caught out some cars going into turn 11. We have lost, as we have seen already. Bryce Cornier has come into the pits. He will not be returning to the track. Bailey Cruz has retired. He too made it into the pits. And Elio Meza, the driver who finished second for the scholarship coming into this season, he too has retired. So a bit of heartbreak going on for a lot of drivers across the board, but no one more so, I would say, than Elio Meza, who was looking very good before the season began for that Rookie of the Year contention. BSI, though, they've lost a couple of cars through this crash. That's going to hurt.
Now, we're taking the absolute most care with not just the cars, of course, but also the drivers. And our first timer is being looked after by the safety crews there, and there's an awful lot of cleanup to do. The clock will continue to run, and yeah, the black number 11 or the dark grey number 11 may have been the catalyst for this. Oh, there was all sorts of other cars down there as well, including Ron Messinger was in there, and It looked to me as though also picking their way through, the green and black car was a long way off, but I don't think that was a damaged number 76. That was Murchison who got back out again.
And Bobby Gossett also running into the runoff area. One of the MMR cars, he managed to resume safely. So that had to have been a lot of fluid coming out of Bailey Cruz's car. Very strange situation.
You are leaning on the Michelin tyres so much. That's a quick corner, and any lack of adhesion is going to send. And in fairness, there was a lot of good driving there, because there was a lot of drivers who realised they weren't going to make that left-hand kink, including Jack Murchison for AAG Racing.
Yeah.
As I say, Jack, I think from Oregon. And
he's living in a different state than he was born, she says as she flips through the notes frantically to try and find his page. He lives in Maryland, but he's from Colorado.
Colorado, excuse me.
Started racing only 2 years ago.
Incredible.
Was in Beck MX last year. As Todd Barris has gotten out of his car. Great to see. He's walking toward the ambulance. Or is that Christian Hodenland? Might have been Christian Hodenland. In that situation, because that was a BSI fire suit and not an AAG fire suit.
Whelen Mazda, I think, might have been involved.
He made it into the pit lane, yes.
Right, okay, that was the 27 car that we saw limping around. That's another BSI car, as you mentioned.
Have we seen Noah Harmon continuing at pace yet? He's driving the number 76. That was the car that was ushered into the wall.
76 is Murchison. We
77,
saw that.
sorry.
Yeah,
Harmon.
77 did brush the wall, and he's still sitting. Well, he still scored in 9th, which, if that is the case, he's not missed. He's not lost a position.
His steering wheel might be slightly sideways, but he's okay.
Let me see. Yeah, absolutely. Started 12th, moved up to 9th. Still a bit of recovery to do, and would say that don't be alarmed that we're taking time to get drivers out of cars here, because the days of what my qualified EMT friends used to call, or will call now, the old scoop and shoot, where you just pick people up, threw them in the back of the truck and got them away, back of the rig, those days are long gone, particularly in motor racing. And in fact, some of the facilities and procedures that were pioneered in motor racing have made it into more general EMT medicine.
Now there's the 11 of Bailey Cruz that dropped the fluid back into the pit lane, so that's the good news. That car was able to make it back in, but the crew will be investigating for JTR Motorsports Engineering what happened on the car to make it release some sort of liquid onto the track. What kind of liquid it was, that makes a big difference. Was it gearbox oil? Was it fuel? Was it water? It's all very viscous, but the level of viscosity is different, and for so many cars to be running off the circuit at that point, you'd imagine it was something very slippery.
We could have almost read the barcode and the part number on some of the bits and pieces that are out there, and of course Shea Adam knows them all off by heart now. We're taking our time to get one of the drivers back out, and you'll understand why that is. As I say, it's all about stabilisation now and making sure that the patient is comfortable before we do anything else. And we've got our recovery flatbed in there as well to start making some moves on getting rid of the two cars that are stuck on the outside of turn 10. Still 22 minutes to go here.
Oh, yeah.
And that is an age in Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup racing.
Well, and who do you think is happiest that we are spending so much time behind the safety car? Exactly, because Jeremy Fletcher lost the championship last year by not getting enough points early on in the season. He comes out of Daytona 4th in points, comes into St. Pete, gets the pole position. Oh, that moves him into a tie with his teammate for 3rd position. Now he's leading the most laps. That will move him ahead of his teammate to 3rd position on his own, and a race win. Ooh, I do believe that puts him very close to the championship lead. Unfortunately for Jeremy, the guy he's chasing in the championship, as it has been the case for many years now, is the car right behind him. That would be Jared Thomas.
So the Whelen safety car with a new bonnet decal, just echoing our first to the finish docu-series starting at the end of this month. check your Amazon Prime for that.
I'm not sure if I should say this, so Jonathan, apologies, and you can beat me over the head later if I'm not. There's actually bodywork on the front straight as well,
Yeah,
so cars dropping bodywork as they come back into the pits. They brought us into a tiny room and showed Shay Holbrook, the other Shay, myself, Heather Hadley, and Sally Mott, an extended trailer at Daytona, and the four of us were so amped up after seeing it. We wanted to watch it again, and then we just couldn't stop saying thank you for Mazda creating something like this, for bringing it forward, because it's just going to bring fans to the series, and it's going to thank you, fans out there all over, give you more access and insight into what is arguably the best racing series in the world.
Well, we've said this before, haven't we? This is appointment of view. First to the finish on Prime, an Amazon original, starting at the end of this month, March the 25th.
But you don't have to wait to the end of this month for another race, because we're going green again tomorrow as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. So just under 20 minutes to go. Jeremy Fletcher started in first. What a drive through the field from Jared Thomas. We kind of expect the unexpected and the extraordinary from Jared. 10th up to first. Nathan Nicholson holding on to third from starting on the front row. Glenn McGee's moved up a spot as well. Tyler Gonzalez picked his way through the early running, made up a couple of positions when he was side by side. He's come up from 9th to 5th. Then Nate Cicero from 7th to 6th.
And as of right now, Tyler Gonzalez will win the Penske Shocking Performance Award, which is the award that you get for passing the most cars from the beginning position to the final position. And no spoilers for anyone out there, but you might want to watch another race that's going on right now later on replay.
Oh, right. I see what you mean.
Very relevant to this series.
Well, Tyler's come up from 9th to 5th, but Jared Thomas has come up from 10th to 2nd. So
Ashland Speed has come up 9 positions so far in today's race. She was our scholarship winner for women for this season.
Yeah, she's up to 22nd spot,
and just
from 31st.
Just to give you an idea.
Hey, hang on a second. Look at this as well. 23rd position.
That's Ruben.
Ruben Matos in the Hendricks Motorsport. So the two Hendricks Motorsport drivers have come up from the from well down the field in the 30s. 34th for Ruben, up to 23rd.
Plus 11. That's a very good day for Ruben. He's a driver who didn't plan on doing the full season either. He's Florida-based, so he thought Daytona, yeah. St. Pete, yeah, why not? Our next round is at Barber Motorsports Park. That's not too far away.
No,
so if Ruben has
doable.
a good day, you know, you might be able to say, hey, come on, mate, let's just stretch it a tiny little bit.
Noah Harmon, by the way, in the red number 77, I just noticed, carrying evidence of that side-by-side contact. His left front fender, wheel arch, at a non-standard Mazda angle, not how it came out of Fliss Performance. The sad sight of
Todd Burris's car.
The Stars and Stripes machine being pulled away. It's the number 58 of AAG Racing. 2 BSI cars in that Schmozzle as well. But I don't think we're too far away from doing a bit of a clean-up. The tyres are going to need to be re-stacked. And our recovery guys being very careful to make sure that there's no further damage done to either of the cars that they are recovering. Christian Hodenland's car is the BSI Racing white and grey car. That's got rear axle damage as well, by the way that car's moving around on the tow hitch.
And I know we still have a third of the race to go. Let me just say that again, a third of the race to go. But I'm going to give it to Jeremy Fletcher for leading the most laps in this race, because I don't think anyone can catch him. Weston Workman would need to lead about a dozen laps to try and then tie Fletcher, and Fletcher led the first one, so it would go back to him on a tie break. don't think we have enough time left for Weston to be able to claim those 10 points away.
Jeremy Fletcher has the fastest lap as well with 24.5.
That would be a full sweep. Pole, fast lap, and most laps led.
So let's just go through why we're in the yellow then. The number 11 car of Bailey Cruz dropping some fluid, and then all kinds of carnage. Ren Messinger in the orange number 3, had the number 76, the black and green car of our brand new driver. What a baptism to the series. And actually a really good bit of avoidance by Jack Murchison and a couple of other drivers, but unfortunately, Shea, 3 drivers involved there. Bryce Cornet in the 65, Elion Mesa was involved as well as Todd Burris, Christian Hordenland as well, and there's some damaged cars which may not see tomorrow's race.
No, but I would just like to present to the court, if you have been alive in the last couple of months, you have seen the start of Daytona Race 2. We lost only 1 car from all of that carnage, and that was not a car that was lost necessarily. It was chosen to not be rebuilt. So out of all that carnage, we were able to replace all the cars on the grid, and not even replace, fix what the problems were. This series is so affordable, and it pays you to be here. The race winner is going to walk away today with a check for $6,000. Second place, $5,000. Third place, $4,000, and all the way down to 10th, you get real cash money, there you go, for today's race. So if you're going to be in a series where there might be a chance of some damage, you want it where the damage is not that expensive to fix, and the series is going to thank you for being there.
And those cash awards, race by race, did not and do not impact on the prize fund for the end of the season.
Correct.
That stays at the $250,000 for the championship leader, and the Rookie of the Year gets a big bump as well.
That's $80,000 in and of itself. No wonder why we have so many rookies here this weekend trying to take a slice of that pie. Right now, the best placed rookie is a guy who's actually making his series debut this weekend. That's Vin Mishko. He was invited to come to the scholarship shootout this year as well. He's a guy who's got Spec MX experience, and second right behind him, the guy who did win the scholarship this year. That would be Noah Harmon, who's driving with a slightly askew sideways steering wheel.
Justin Adaconis is in 10th, and Ethan Goulart is in 11th. 4 rookies together, and Ethan Goulart had a great Daytona and came out really well in the overall points.
Well, he finished second in one of the races, and all 4 of those drivers were invited to the scholarship shootout in November. That was down at Homestead. 3 of those 4 were in the final shootout because they were that impressive. So we knew then that these drivers, 2 of the 4 were in that final. We knew that these drivers were good. We knew that they were ready. But coming after Daytona, we had 4 rookies in the top 10 of the championship. That is completely unheard of. It's Goulart who's second overall in points, and Ren Messinger who's 3rd.
Yeah. Now Ren's a little bit further down the field, sitting in 18th position.
He
had to avoid that Schmozzle at 10 and did a really good job. Now, whether he was affected by the low grip or whether he was avoiding someone else, I don't know. The MX-5 safety car lights are out and it's pulled away. We're going to have just under 12 minutes to go. We're lapping at around about 1 minute 24, 1 minute 25. So we're going to have 8, possibly 9 laps. Here we go, and Jeremy Fletcher is back up to speed. The green flag is in the air on the runway here at St. Pete's. And it is drafting down to turn 1. Jared Thomas, you can barely see him. They go across the stripes at the end of the runway, and the leader goes wide, misses his braking point. Or was he helped that way? He's dropped way back down. He's all the way back down to Western Workman in 7th, so he's gone down to 6th position there, and will have to fight his way back from that point. And now the new leader, Jared Thomas, is under pressure, 2 by 2, and 2 rows back as they go through turns 4 and 5. I've not seen that for a very long time. Workman offline again in the dark blue car with the white stripe down the side. Oh yeah, this is getting feisty. Everybody knows now they've got plenty of performance left in their Michelin tyres because they haven't been racing whilst that cleanup was going on. Now it's a sprint to the finish.
It is, and I was giggling there because Jared Thomas has seen every single trick in the book. That's why he's won the championship twice and been finisher up last year too. This is a guy who doesn't get frazzled, and he knows you're going to try and jump early, aren't you? I'm going to stay with you. That's exactly what he did, and he was so tucked up behind Jeremy Fletcher. I think that was just a moment of intimidation on Jared Thomas's part.
Leader comes through then, the red and white car of Jeremy Fletcher for Jared Thomas, excuse me, for JTR. He's the JT of JTR. Then the sort of darker gold car in second is Nathan Nicholson.
Glenn McGee.
Glenn McGee's gone through ahead of Nathan Nicholson, and then Tyler Gonzalez, Nate Cicero, Noah Harmon, the best of the rookies. He's pulled through and ahead of the other rookies he was racing with, and that red number 77, slightly damaged though it is, he's right up there now in 6th position. You'll tell it's the one with the left-hand wing sticking out a bit, 6th back behind the white and red and green car of Nate Cicero, still side by side going into turn 5. That always worries me. The number 99, the dark car, that's for Mishko, another one of the rookies, just in Adakonis, and Ethan Goulard's gone up a position as well. He's in 10th now in the number 29 car, and then Von Mishko. Those 3 rookies are battling for second rookie points at the moment.
I think Fletcher's dropped all the way behind Adakonis on this lap. That has been disaster. I don't think Jeremy got help either, just from the gap between the 2 cars going into turn 1. But Jared Thomas is laughing right now because he has a beautiful gap over Glenn McGee, who runs for JTR Motorsports Engineering. So you're going to give the team owner a little bit of room. And then in 3rd, Nathan Nicholson still just looking to try and get a podium. Of course, he wants a win for his new sponsor. Podium is a good way to start.
Best of the female drivers is Heather Hadley in 15th position, the Hendricks Motorsport car. And she's battling for that extra $2,000 for the best of the females.
Tyler Gonzalez is in a position from which he can win, and whenever you put Tyler Gonzalez in that kind of position with less than 10 minutes to go, chances are he will get to the front. But Nate Cicero is right behind him as well, and Nate looking for some serious redemption at Daytona. He pitted when the race looked like it was going to dry out to take off the wet weather tires from the lead, and never recovered from that. So Cicero's been on the back foot ever since.
We want some good points here this weekend, sitting in 5th at the moment in that mostly white car. Stands out actually as the rest of the field pass through the scene of the accident now. And
beautiful move.
Lovely move by Western Workman on the inside of the track. He must have been a little bit wary of how much grip there was there. He goes ahead of Harmon, and there's been a spin behind, and it is that dark coloured number 99 we were talking about just a few minutes ago. Have we put the curse of the commentator on Von Mishko in the Nelson Brothers supported car, the white car with the red and blue on the side? 7.5 to go. They've crossed the line. Jared Thomas leads from McGee and Nathan Nicholson, and then Tyler Gonzalez, Nate Cicero, Western Workman up to 6th. Harmon, the best of the rookies. Fletcher in 8th. Adakonis in 9th. And Ethan Goulart in 10th. Then it's Grant West, Ren Messinger, Peter Atwater, Heather Hadley up to 14th now. And we're staying green.
And intel from race control, the interaction between Fletcher and Thomas will be looked at post-race. So they will look at the onboard cameras. That's what that means. Race control is not going to affect anyone's race on the racetrack. They're going to take a few minutes to breathe and perhaps talk to the competitors. Full course caution is out as Von Rochego has not yet moved. So to get Mishko's car back, they are going to bring out the safety car once again, which means we could have a last lap dash literally for the cash.
Yeah. Green, white checker, anybody? 6 minutes and 20 seconds, just under to go. So once again, all that adrenaline has to be controlled and dialed down, and Jared Thomas in the best place possible at the moment. Nathan Nicholson, by the way, nicked away the fastest lap, just stole away the fastest lap from Jeremy Fletcher, down to a 1:24.495. Still not a lap record. Justin Piscatel's 2022 race lap record at 24.344 still holds on for the moment. But will that be the case in 5.5 minutes' time?
Justin will be grinning from ear to ear
sure
with that
he's watching.
information.
Yeah.
And hello, Justin and Ashley, and congratulations to you both. The next time that we race will be in May. By that time, they will be first-time parents to a lovely
brilliant.
little girl.
Good. That's great news.
Yep.
So we're waiting for our safety car to come back out and pick up the leader.
The frantic tire scrubbing by the entirety of the first half of the grid. And then you get back to Weston Workman in his purple car just sitting in line going, do-do-do. Oh,
Yeah.
now he starts. Thank you, Weston. Thanks
Yeah.
for listening. Appreciate you paying attention to the broadcast there, buddy.
First to finish, Whelen MX-5 pulls out at the front of the field.
They're not doing anything to make me want that safety car any less.
No. It is a full convertible now. It used to be an RF, and I
Right.
quite like the RF MX-5 with the folding steel roof.
If I text them my address, do you think they would just leave it in the garage for me?
Yeah.
It's about 10
It's
minutes
just up
from
the
the
road.
track.
I was going to say, it's only up the road.
Just take a left there, guys. You'll be fine. You'll make it.
Bit of damage to the left front of Jared Thomas's car, but I'm not sure that was incurred in this race. Ticking down, Nicholson with the fastest lap now, 1:24.495. Excuse me, I thought that was, yeah, I did mention that, sorry. That's the Advanced Autosports car, so Nathan Nicholson with the points for that, and that's something else that Jeremy Fletcher's lost. He went all the way down to 8th position, Shay.
He won't be happy with that.
No, a lot of work to be done before tomorrow if either of the Christian Hodnland and Todd Burras cars comes out. Now, the laps that were set, well, let's just find out what that was. Just a tiny little spin for the number 99.
Oh, Peter Atwater is going to be thanking his lucky stars that he had quick hands and managed to avoid the stricken car, because he came within millimeters, and oh, so did Sally McNulty going through turn 10. They all made it through, though. So for Von Mischko, the best news is he didn't hit anything, and nobody hit him.
Nothing worse than facing the wrong direction with the bulk of the field coming towards you. In my very first motor race, that happened to me. We are going to have a couple of laps. Jeremy Fletcher earlier today set a 1:23.365. He'll still be on pole position for tomorrow, so an opportunity for him to be taking good points.
Of course, because the load hasn't burned off as they would have expected, because we spent a long time under yellow. So that pole position and the qualifying results across the board should stay. Glenn McGee looking down the inside of Jared Thomas. I think that was more a defensive move on Nathan Nicholson as they have contact coming through into turn 6, but both cars managing to continue. I think that was Glenn McGee actually playing defense for his team leader, saying, no, my boss is out front. I want him to potentially get the win if he can. You stay put.
Down to 2 minutes 20 as they come to the line this time. It's going to be tight. It is going to be tight. I don't think they'll get the white flag this time around, but I've been wrong in the past. Stepping out the line there. Noah Harmon having a little look a little bit further back as well in the 77. He's the best of the rookies, sitting in 6th position at the moment. Thomas McGee, Nicholson, Gonzalez, Cicero, Weston Workman back up to 6th position. Now it is the white flag this time around. Just 1.8 miles. And there's a gap between Jared Thomas and Glenn McGee. There's a gap between Glenn McGee and Nathan Nicholson, who's still got the fastest lap in that multicoloured, almost Mondrian-esque colour scheme on the front of his number 56 Advanced Autosport car. Through the twisties and the chicane, threading the eye of the needle. Now down to turn number 4, and they're spreading out. There was a little touch there on the back of Nathan Nicholson, but he's held onto it round the outside. That's one of the JTR cars, wasn't it, coming round there?
I think it was, and now we've got a situation where Nathan Nicholson is trying desperately to hold off Tyler Gonzalez, Nate Cicero, Weston Workman, Jeremy Fletcher, Noah Harmon, and into the barriers goes the number 19 machine. Now, is anyone going to hit Cicero, or is he going to be okay? This is another dismal points haul for Nate Cicero.
Oh, and he was right up there. He was sitting in a solid top 5 finishing position. He will not be happy if he's had help to get there. As a couple of IndyCar drivers can tell him exactly how that happened when you look back down through the years.
What did I say before the race began, John? Only one driver knows what it's like to win on the streets of St. Pete in a Mazda in today's race, and he's just done it again.
Jared Thomas, JTR Motorsport Engineering on the headlight flash. He'll take it by 3/4 of a second from Glenn McGee. Tyler Gonzalez coming through into 3rd position, making up a position right at the end there. Nathan Nicholson in 4th, but he will get the points for the fastest lap, although Justin Piscatel's lap record from 2022 is still intact at a 1:24.344. Weston Workman, well, he was up and down at one stage, battling for the lead, dropped down to about 7th. Came back to 5th position. Jeremy Fletcher, he'll be gritting his teeth as well, won't he? Started on pole position, finishes 6th. So the new, oh, and right at the end, Shea, Justin Adaconis pipped Noah Harmon for the best rookie.
Huh.
Got back ahead of Ethan Goulard and Noah Harmon, so there was a bit of swapping and changing there in the bottom end of the top 10. And Adaconis then in the number 23 for Macumbi Magalia Racing has taken 7th position and the top rookie points ahead of Harmon in 8th and Ethan Goulard in 9th. Ethan came in the weekend 2nd in the overall points, and Ren Messinger up into the 10th position after having to avoid that huge incident when he dropped right down to the bottom of the team. Grant West in 11th, Peter Atwater in 12th. Heather Hadley up to 13th at the end. And the top 15, Malte Gutierrez and Bobby Gossett making up the top. And Bobby Gossett was involved as well in that incident.
So I can't give you comprehensive championship points because I'm not that good at math or arithmetic, as you would say. But Jared Thomas came into this race as championship leader. He leaves this race as championship leader, extends his advantage to a very comfortable, well, no, let's be honest, there is no comfortable bubble in this championship. 890 points in 2nd position after today. Jeremy Fletcher, even still, he's on 760 points, so 130-point gap. Then in 3rd jumps Nathan Nicholson with today's performance, 740 points. And down into 4th goes Ethan Goulart, still best of the rookies in our championship, on 730. So you said Justin Adaconis was the best of our rookie finishers.
Yeah.
The best of the women was Heather Hadley in 13th. She has now won that twice this year in 3 races as far as best woman is concerned. So that's $4,000 that's gone into her pocket. And the best of our drivers of a certain age will be Peter Atwater in 12th position.
Wow.
Fantastic result from Peter.
And it'll be a toss-up between Ashland Speed and Ruben Gutierrez Matos for who made up the most positions.
Yep, so the Takumi Award will go the way of Peter Atwater. The Penske Shocking Performance will come down to ultimately which of those drivers started further ahead, further behind. It's to race control's discretion at this point.
Yeah, a couple of big hits. We send our best wishes to Christian Hodland, Todd Burris, Elion Mesa involved in that, as well as Bryce Cornet and Bailey Cruz's car as well. And into victory lane then for the number 96, Jared Thomas Motorsport JTR. And it's a 1-2 as well, of course, for JTR with Glenn McGee in the number 69 car, staged alongside Tyler Gonzalez is the 3rd step of the box, and that's BSI Racing. The man you might say who was unluckiest. In fourth position, Nathan Nicholson for Advance Autosport. But he takes the points for fastest lap.
You want to know how much winning means? This is a guy who's won more races than anyone else running in the championship, still celebrating as if it's his first for Jared Thomas. It's his second race win in 2 consecutive races. So for Jared to get out of the car, do the fist bump, celebrate with everyone he can find, including Al Arena, the series photographer, this is what racing in the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup Championship means. This is what winning means.
And don't think of this as a stepping stone. This is a destination championship now. And with the kind of money that Mazda are investing in this in so many different ways, and not just the not just in the prize money. So unofficial as it stands, with some investigation to go on as well, which could affect this result, and we'll give you all of those details when we're back with you for tomorrow's second race here at St. Petersburg for the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup. Jared Thomas from Glen McGee, Tyler Gonzalez, that's the top 3. Then Nathan Nicholson, Weston Workman, Jeremy Fletcher, Justin Adaconis, best of the rookies in 7th. In 8th, Noah Harmon, Ethan Gerrard in 9th, and Ron Messinger for the 10th. Heather Hadley is the best of the female drivers in 13th, just behind Peter Atwater, who is the best of the more experienced in life drivers. And it's going to be, I think, Ashland Speed or Rubens Caceres Matos who get the best of the movers, the Shocking Mover Award, because of their starting positions. They started down in the bottom half of the 20s. Problems at the bottom of the page for quite a few of those drivers. Ashland started in 31st, and Ruben started, actually, he started in 34th, which would have been 32nd. So I think they're tied on that. So it will be up to the umpires for that one. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern time, we will reconvene with 1 or 2 cars that might have a bit of racer tape on it. Shay Adam will be back alongside me, John Hindorf, as we do it all again for you. Thanks for being with us as ever. The Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup has delivered, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. So join us then for more action from this IMSA series. See you then. Bye.